Welcome to Why We're Fans. I'm Duran, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Gennaro.
In all of our episodes, we cover the past, present, and the future of all your favorite NFL football teams.
We love hearing your stories, talking the NFL draft, and reminiscing about the good old days.
If you like the same, be sure to subscribe to this channel and like this episode. And leave a comment below if you want to answer any of our questions.
Follow us on Twitter to stay up to date on our latest interviews. And like we always say, win or lose, we're all fans. Enjoy this episode.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How we doing? Hi, welcome back to another episode of Why We're Fans. It's the podcast about fans, for the fans, by us, just a couple of fans. And it's your hosts, Gennaro and Duran. We're here today, having another fan, another interview, which is always fun for us. Duran, what you sipping on, Duran?
Today I got Cooperage Sucker Repellent.
I don't have the original can, but it's from Iron Ox. Shout out to Iron Ox. I'm sipping on, it's called Double Birds. So it's pretty much just a fuck you to 2020. That's their tribute beer.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Double IPA.
Yeah. All right. So without further ado, let's bring in our guest, Mr. Matt O'Leary. He's a representative of that Jets Nation. Our Jets. Yeah. What do you guys call yourself? The Jets fans. What do you guys call yourself?
Yeah, Jets Nation's good. I say that's definitely on there. There's actually a forum Jets Nation, so it's fitting.
It's still so weird for me because out here in the Bay Area, we grew up, it's either Niners or Raiders, and we always heard cramming in my head from my family members is that Raider Nation.
Oh yeah,
I grew up, 49er faithful over here, so don't want to hear that noise. But Matt, why don't you go ahead and plug yourself, man? Let's hear what work, any kind of work or anything that you have working on right now. Hype yourself up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. So you guys can follow along with me online at Matt O'Leary NY on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I do a weekly Jets podcast called Just Jets, along with videos on the YouTube channel as well. So if you're a Jets fan or just a football fan interested in finding out some more about our little team over here, definitely check it out. It's worthwhile.
And I really wish I had that sound clip from Big Daddy where that little kid just saying the goddamn Jets. They're on the sports bar watching. And that's one of my favorite movies right there. But
and we'll put all your links below, Matt. So go ahead and click through, follow through, and you'll see what he has going on.
Hell yeah.
Well, ready to dig in, G?
Yeah, let's dig into this. Matt, you ready, man? We're just gonna ask you a few questions.
Sweet.
Yeah. Okay, man. Well, kick it off, man. How did it all start? How did you start cheering on the fans for the Jets?
So when I was young, my dad's a Jets fan, and I feel like that's usually how it starts. But I probably when I was around 8 years old really started to get into it. Which was I'm a 95 baby, so about 03 is when the season I really started to get into it. And then the Jets went on a pretty nice run. In 04, they were a good team, and 06 made the playoffs. And then towards my teen years, had a couple AFC championship game runs, which was a lot of fun. But, it started out just being interested in sports. Growing up, played baseball and stuff like that. But the Jets it was almost like a religion. It was like, okay, every Sunday we go to church. After church, we're watching the Jet game. Like, that's just our thing. And from there, it kind of blossomed into this fandom, what it is now.
Awesome.
So are you now the biggest Jets fan in the family? Did you take it over from your dad?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's still a big fan. For me, so growing up, I thought I had this dream of becoming a baseball player, and that quickly died out when I realized that I'm not good enough to become a professional baseball player. So I always wanted to find a way to work in sports or do something in sports. So a few years ago, actually about 5 years ago when I was in college, I made my own website, and then I started doing content there. And then eventually it got into a YouTube channel, which I made, I think around 2018 is when I started doing it a little bit more religiously. And it's kind of went from there, and just, covering the team from a fan's perspective, pretty much on a daily basis with, reaction videos, analysis, and stuff like that. So
Who's your baseball team?
I'm a Mets fan. Jets, Mets, Islanders, all the second class New York teams usually.
I'm a Yankee fan over here. I'm a West Coast Yankee fan.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of West Coast Yankee fans.
So generation wise, does it go back further than just your dad? Do you have a grandma or grandpa, anyone else further back you could think of that are Jets fans?
On my mom's side, her dad's a Jets fan. So
Okay.
like right from the get-go, that's all I knew. And my uncles are Jets fans and stuff like that. So from a young age, I was exposed to that. I think like Christmas, I don't know, 98 or 99, I was like 3 or 4 years old. One of my first Jets jerseys, Wayne Corbett jersey. So like right from there, I was thrown into the mix, and it's something that we always did as a family, was just, watch the games, and my love of the sport kind of grew from there.
What brand of jersey was that Wayne Corbett jersey? Who one of my favorite Jets player, by the way.
It was Starter.
Nice.
Oh, hell yeah.
You still got it?
I don't know. I saw
Gary V will buy that off your back right now.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, totally. I'd have to look for it. It's pretty small now, but I'd have to go back and look.
And you can wear it like Zeke, man. Have that belly showing. Who cares, man?
So what do you do on game days? Are you a live tweeter? Do you like to watch it all by yourself? Do you watch it at a bar with a group of friends?
So I'm very annoying to watch a game with. I love live tweeting. That's been my thing for a while now. But I don't like to go out and watch a game. Like, I want to watch at home, and like, I don't know. I feel like my friends who aren't as like diehard, or who are kind of just like casual fans, like, oh, like I don't know, we'll go to a bar and watch the game. Like, no, like I'm going to miss plays, having to go off and go to the bathroom and stuff like that. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, to me, that's not fun. Like, sitting on my couch all day and not moving on a Sunday, that's my fun. That's all I want. I don't want to go out to the bar. I don't give a shit about just hanging out and eating and drinking wings. No. I want to watch the games, dissect the games, get emotionally into it. Like, I'm not going to freak out and go nuts at a bar, but in my own house, like, whatever goes. So I'd much rather watch at home.
Yeah, especially we invest so much into these TVs, cable every month, then you got fantasy football, sports gambling. I'm stuck to my TV every Sunday when football's on, so it's an all-day event at my house too.
Yeah, that's 100%. I mean, I'll go over a friend's house, but it's like probably like 2 or 3 other friends that we'll barbecue and we'll watch the game and we'll get loud, and we always have like 2 or 3 other games on as well. So I mean, you don't get that at bars. I mean, if you go to, I don't know how it is in New York, but if you go to a certain bar, they're only going to play a certain game, and it sucks. So it's like, damn, man, I came here to see my game. My game's not even on. I have to watch it on my phone. So.
Yeah, totally. It's like you said, it's not worth it. Like, there's a few spots where they have like a different game on each TV, but to me, I got like the ADD kicks in. Like, I can't focus on the thing that I have to. Like, even though the Jets were terrible last year, I still watched every snap of the 2-14 season. I'm just like, that's how much I'm into it.
I think that goes for every diehard fan, man. I mean, like, you're like pacing, or like you're sitting there just kind of like clenching something. Like, I remember just pacing during I forget what game it was, but it wasn't even my team. It was just I had fantasy players in that game and I needed them to score. So I'm sitting there pacing. Oh, it was last year. It actually wasn't even my fantasy team. It was Duran's fantasy team. We're watching the Packers play, and we needed Devontae Adams to go off, and he did. So
there you go.
That was a good one. It was Diggs. Diggs won it for me. So have you ever been to a Jets game in person? And if so, do you remember the first one?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I have gone to Jets games. I'm not like a season ticket holder or anything like that. But I do. One of my friends growing up, I played Little League and stuff with him going back to when we were real young. His family did have season tickets. So usually like once or maybe twice a year, I'll go to a game with him. I was a little bit older for my first Jets game. I believe first one I ever went to was a preseason game. It was Jets Falcons in 2007. First regular season game was Jets Panthers in 2009. Darrelle Revis had a weird pick six in that game. That's what I remember from that one against that Panthers team. But I'll tell you, the best game I ever went to was Jets Patriots in 2015, the Eric Decker overtime touchdown game. And at that point, the Jets playoffs hope were still alive. If they went on the road and won in Buffalo the next week, they would have been in the playoffs. So that was almost like a home playoff game for us. So it was super intense, overtime walk-off win like that. I'll never forget how, nuts the stadium was going. That was the most fun by far.
I don't remember that game, but I'm looking at it here. Jets win 26-20 in overtime. I see Eric Decker, this 6-yard pass from Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's still slinging it today.
It's magic, baby.
Yeah, and he actually outplayed Tom Brady in that game. He had 296 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and Brady 231 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So, yeah, I bet that was a great game to go to.
Wasn't Steven Jackson's on the Patriots then? Like, I remember they had a whole bunch of, like, no-name running backs that were carrying the team, and Steven Jackson. Like, I want to say, like, Brandon Bolden still on the Patriots.
Steven Jackson, Brandon Bolden, guys like that. Yeah, they always have their running backs running on through there. You got anything for right here?
Yeah, so when you're watching the game, I know you like to watch it solo, but when you do, I'm curious, as a Jets fan, do you have any kind of superstitions or any kind of traditions that you do on game day, whether it be like, I'm not going to go to a bar to get wings, I'm going to make my own wings, or, man, the Jets really play good if I'm drinking this beer or wearing these, you know what I mean?
So for a very long time, I sat in the same seat watching the games. And I could tell you the first time I sat in the seat, and I was like, oh, this is a good luck seat. So it was week 17, 2009, Jets Bengals. And it was a win and in playoff situation for the Jets. And they blew out the Bengals. They won big. And then they actually went on the road and beat them the next round in the wild card game. And I don't exactly remember why I so happened to sit in this chair. Usually, like, I have a spot on my couch, but this is like there's a chair off to the side, and I don't remember why I happened to go and sit in that chair, but I did. And then for probably like up until recently, maybe like the last 2 or 3 years, I've sat in that same spot. I only recently changed because like the Jets have been so bad for the last so long, like that it doesn't matter. Like, I'm just gonna go to my other spot. But for a solid like 7 years, probably, I sat in the same seat for every game.
Nice.
Yeah. So I know, a little weird, but that was my thing.
No, I mean, I'd figure because you said that you had a dream of becoming a professional baseball players, and we know that baseball superstitions are key. So I figured I'd ask, maybe you have some type of superstition.
Yeah, absolutely.
I looked up those games that you guys won, and that week 16 game, you guys won 37-0. And the weirdest part about that, Mark Sanchez only had 63 yards in that game.
Yeah, I think Thomas Jones went off running, right?
Thomas Jones went off. He had 27 attempts, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. Who else? Jericho Cotchery actually had a rushing touchdown. Brad Smith had a rushing touchdown. And you guys dominated that game. It was actually the back-to-back games. You guys won 61-14. Combined the scores. So yeah, that was a good stretch right there.
That seat was feeling lucky that night.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Keep it rolling. Well, I think that's about it for me. G, anything else for how it started?
No. So for the next topic, me and Duran usually like to guess your favorite player, okay. Just so don't tell us just quite yet. So I'm going to go with Nick Mangold, only because like he was a staple of that offensive line during their good years and whatnot. It was either him or Curtis Martin. So I'm going to go with, Nick Mangold. Duran?
I'm going with Darrelle Revis. He's my favorite Jet, and future Hall of Famer, all pro, all everything.
I was going to say Wayne, but I mean, I figured he was born in 95. He remembers since like 03. And I mean, I just started high school that time. So I was kind of curious, but yeah. So who's your favorite Jets player?
This is I have like so many different ones, and Mangold's up there, and Revis is definitely up there. But honestly, I think it's Curtis Martin. I know I saw the tail
Damn
end.
it! Should have was my gut.
Yeah, I saw the tail end of his career, but that was important to me because that was when I was like first getting into the game, and I feel like you have like when you're younger, you like have that connection right away, and like he was the big guy on that team. Like Corbett was too, and he was a fan favorite, but like Curtis Martin was our star. Like that was our guy, and he was really big into getting it, and a random one from that era too. But I don't know why. I absolutely loved Sean Ellis. He was on the team forever.
Okay.
Yeah, Sean Ellis was a great one. But Curtis Martin, of course, Jets legend, Hall of Famer, 5-time Pro Bowler, Offensive Rookie of the Year. And the stat that I like the most about him, 10 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. And, of course, he's the Jets' all-time rushing leader and rushing touchdown leader. So he is probably the best Jet of all time. And, yeah, I could totally see that being your number one guy. I think we guessed that with the last Jets fan, too.
Yeah.
I think one of us went with Curtis Martin.
It's just kind of crazy with Curtis Martin. I mean, he's like the Kawhi Leonard of, like, the NFL. You know, he's not flashy. You don't hear him talk. He's super humble. When he gets like lit up, he just, oh, hey, good job. Just trots back, just does his job. You know what I mean? He's a prototypical like blue collar, worker. Just goes in there, does his job, does it with great, and just get heads on out of there.
Yeah. If Curtis Martin was Batman, who would you say his Robin was? Who the guy that was always by his side and playing well right beside him.
During those era Jets, I'd probably go like Lavernius Coles. Like he was probably the Jets big receiver during that time.
Yeah.
And especially on like those early 2000s teams. I remember it was always the offense that seemed to go through Coles, or if they had the running game going, then it was, a Martin day. But the two of them, Corbett's another big one. I could have maybe went that way, but Coles is probably the better receiver, even though Corbett's probably remembered a little bit more fondly for just being a fan favorite. But I think I'd go Coles.
Yeah, the Jets always had a wide receiver to pair up and seem to always be doing well. I think we'll hit on a couple of those guys in a little bit, but one guy that, it's hard to remember all these guys going throughout the years, but recently I looked him up and it was Kevin Moai. They played all the same years with Curtis Martin. We don't see him get many touchdowns or anything like that, offensive lineman, but man, when they're there, they're putting in work and open up holes for those running backs.
Yeah, he was great for those Jets teams, man. They got lucky. They went from Kevin Moai, who was great for them, and then they drafted Nick Mangold right after he left. So they had a real, a dominant stretch run of centers there for a while.
That's so important to have.
Yeah, it's so like you said, Duran, they don't get much love in the trenches, and it's unfortunate because, I mean, it's so key in an offense. I mean, you should know that. I mean, Fredrickson, how great he is and how great he was, and he had that unfortunate disease, which always blanks my mind because I feel so bad because he was such a solid player. And it's just crazy, man. Like, centers need love too, man. Shit.
Yeah. I know you said Curtis Martin reminded you of Kawhi, but when I was watching his film recently, to me, I thought of Emmitt Smith during those. I mean, these guys weren't the fastest ones, but they're all around running backs. They knew how to hit the hole. They knew how to get yardage and fall forward. And that's kind of what he reminded me of, was watching Emmitt. So
yeah, I guess I meant more like his personality.
Yeah. No, I understood what you meant. Can you think of a classic Curtis Martin play? Is there one thing that kind of stands out to you?
I don't know if there's a one play that really stands out to me. There's a game that I associate with Curtis Martin. I'm trying to think of the year. It was might have been 2003. So it was a snow game at the old Meadowlands against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I just remember they won a low scoring game and they pretty much just pounded the rock with him all game. So I'm blanking on the year, but I think it was 2003. If I remember correctly, but I just remember watching him in the snow coming down and just continue to pound the rock over and over and over again. Really dominated that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic. The one that kind of stands out to me, same thing. I don't remember what year it was. I haven't seen it recently, but it was versus the Buccaneers, and it was actually his pass to Wayne Corbett for a touchdown. I forget what game that was, if it was an important game or what exactly stood out about it. But what I remember is the pass was kind of a duck, and Wayne Corbett still caught it. I'm pretty sure it was a game winner too.
Yeah, I think that was 2000, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Back now, yeah, so a couple years earlier.
Yeah, that was a good one. But Curtis Martin, do you remember how you felt when he retired? I think it was after some great years too.
Yeah, it was 2005. He was banged up a little bit. I think that was his last year. It was tough. It's always tough to see those legends go, and it was both him and Corbett the same year called it quits, and that was like. That's my childhood. Like I grew up with those guys. So seeing both those guys leave, that was like the transition. Then you got into like the Chad Pennington and Eric Mangini era. And then that was a couple of years and Favre comes in and stuff like that. But the identity of those early 2000s teams to me was really Corbett and Curtis, and having both those guys go at the same time was tough for sure.
Mm-hmm. His second to the last year he retired, he had almost 1,700 yards rushing alone. And yeah, it is sad when you see guys just, kind of get injured, but maybe he walked away at the right time. It reminds me of Sean Alexander. He had such a great year that one year with Seattle, and then he was done like the next year or 2 years later.
You went to Pittsburgh too, right? University of Pittsburgh.
Curtis Martin.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, they put out some good running backs.
Oh, heck yeah.
I'm just curious. I know we guessed your favorite player, and I don't want to guess this next. I was just curious if you ever had a player on the team that you absolutely like just hated that he's on your squad, whether it's like Tebow, Geno Smith, Mark Sanchez, Keyshawn Johnson. Like, I'm just curious.
Yeah, a couple come to mind, but I think the big one and you mentioned him, Geno Smith. I didn't like the idea of drafting him when they did in 2013, and he was bad up until this most recent year when they went 2-14. The 2014 Jets were like by far my least favorite team that I've ever seen, because they were unlikable. They had Smith, who was awful that year, and then they ended up benching him for Michael Vick, who was like 1 foot out the door in the NFL already. He was pretty much gone at that point too. And there was just no really redeemable qualities about that team. For me, it was probably Geno. I would say was my least favorite Jet. With Sanchez, there were some redeeming qualities there, like the run that they went on in 2009 and 2010. He was kind of led by the good running game and the good defense, of course, but just him being associated with those teams kind of gives him a little bit of a better memory, where with Geno, it was just a couple rough years. And then the whole thing where he got punched out by IK and Impali was just...
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, about that one.
Yeah, in the locker room.
Yeah, that's why Ryan Fitzpatrick started for us in 2020.
Yeah, broke his jaw. Wasn't it over like some type of charity event or something like that?
He owed him like $500 or something like that.
Yeah. I remember that. That was a crazy one. Starting quarterback gets punched out. You don't hear that every day. Are there any players for the Jets that you feel like were a little bit underrated and didn't get as much credit as they deserved?
Definitely. So a couple guys, I'll give you two who are kind of more recent Jets. One of them is Robbie Anderson, who I think was underrated, and then this year goes to Carolina and has over 1,000-yard season, his first of his career. But he dealt with some really tough quarterback play, and he would have probably had 2 other 1,000-yard seasons. In 2017, Josh McCown was playing pretty good for us, actually, and then he got hurt at the end of the year. And the last 4 games, the Jets started Bryce Petty, and he just couldn't get Robbie the ball. So I think Robbie ended up with like 900 receiving yards that year. So he probably would have went over 1,000 that year. And then in 2018, the next year, Darnold's rookie year, he missed, I think 3 games in like the middle of the year. And at this point, McCown was like done. He couldn't play. He was the backup that year. So if Darnold, doesn't miss those games, I think he probably has a better shot at getting to 1,000 yards. But I just think he was really, undervalued. And the other one is kind of a little bit of a cult favorite here, but Bilal Powell was a good Jet for a long time.
Yeah.
He was on the team from 2011 through 2019, and he never really had like a huge role. He was more of like their second running back most years, but whenever he got the ball, he was explosive back. He was a lot of fun. And those two guys I think are kind of, underrated in the modern era for the Jets.
Yeah, he was there for a while. I didn't realize that. What is that? 9 years, maybe 8 years, but yeah, good for him. I have always been a Robbie Anderson fan, and I felt like at the Jets he was a big down the field target type of guy. And when he switched over, maybe it was because of Teddy Bridgewater, but when he went over to Carolina, I felt like he showed a little bit more to his game, that he wasn't just, a 9 route type of guy. He was running a lot of like crossing routes, and even for like his stature, he can catch the ball and hold on to it. I know he's a skinny guy, but this is a different NFL. You can't pop him like you used to.
Exactly.
Yeah, true.
Yep. G, anything else for these players?
No, nothing else for the players, man.
Okay, let's move on. I know this might be a little bit of a weird subject, but we want to know your favorite Jets coach of all time. You do got some recent ones: Todd Bowles, Rex Ryan, Eric Mangini, Bill Parcells, Herm Edwards. Are there any of those guys that stand out to you?
I feel like the right answer is Robert Salah.
Yeah, I'm super excited about him. So I'm amped up to have him as the Jets coach. We can get into that in a little bit if you want. But for me, it's now with Parcells. That was a little bit before my time, but he was great for the Jets team. But for someone that I've seen, it's probably Rex with the back-to-back runs in the championship games. It didn't go well after that. He kind of fizzled out in like 2012, 13, 14. But early on, when he first came onto the scene, he brought a personality and an identity to this Jets team that didn't really have one before that. With Mangini, he was definitely more quiet, and they were kind of just, I don't know if boring is the right word, but they didn't have like that swagger or that style to their game. And when Rex came in, it was like, we're going to punch you in the mouth. We're going to run the ball down your throat. We're going to play good defense. And it worked for 2.5 years. And then it kind of got old, but early on, I think it was the Rex era for sure.
Yeah, I like that one. I liked Rex Ryan there too. I know he was a louder guy, especially in those Hard Knocks stuff, but he just fit New York to me. He knew how to handle the media. He knew, how to deal with the players. Of course, he's like a great players coach, but yeah, I think that's the guy to go with as well.
Definitely. To attract somebody like Bart Scott away from the Ravens to the Jets, that's got to be something. I mean, he can, like you said, Matt, like he'll punch you in the mouth and he'll eat a snack.
That's a good one.
I think that was the best Hard Knock season, man. I'm biased, obviously, but he just had so many one-liners in that season.
Yeah, he really stole the show. He stole the show on that one.
It just seemed like I think that one might have been my favorite because he was either them or the Texans, and it wasn't because of Bill O'Brien, but I like that one just because it seemed like it was just a team. Like you had Mark Sanchez just like messing around with everybody, but also like knowing to take lead. You had the veterans players, and you had Cromartie talking about his 20 kids. Oh yeah, it was just it was so much. And it was just so entertaining. I loved it. So it was definitely up there with my Hard Knocks episodes for sure.
Yeah, Rex isn't afraid to go out and get those guys, man.
No.
But one of my favorite things about him is the way he had Cromartie and Darrelle Revis. He'd just play man-to-man and then blitz the hell out of you. And that was his style of defense, and it did work. And I know it scared offenses because both of those guys were hard to beat one-on-one, especially Revis.
Yeah, man. Revis Island was something special, especially that one year. I don't know how he doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year in 2009. That season he had that year was just unbelievable. The list of receiver. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that list where it's like, who he held under 100 yards. It's pretty nuts, man.
If you just go on YouTube, They have a Darrell Reeves lock. It's called a lockdown compilation versus Randy Moss, Chad Johnson, Reggie Wayne, Des Bryant, Julio Jones, Terrell Owens, Steve Smith, Andre Johnson, AJ Green. I'm sure there's more out there, but he was playing the best receivers one-on-one every week. And he earned all those paychecks that he got.
Iron sharpens iron for sure.
Yep. So we know Rex Ryan was your favorite coach. Do you have a least favorite coach?
It 100% is Adam Gase. I don't even have to think twice about it. From the second he was hired, meltdown. I hated that hire from the get-go because he got run out of town in Miami. Had an awful year the last year. I think they lost their last 3 games to finish that year. And it just the press conference, his introductory press conference was awful. He was brought in here to develop our young quarterback, and to me, I think he's broken at this point. It was a complete failure of a 2 years. It really was.
Yeah, I thought about that because we saw a couple of coaches have some weird press conferences this year. Dan Campbell, which I kind of like Dan Campbell's, at least he has a vision and he's motivated and stuff. But the Eagles with Sirianni, that was a little bit weird one. And it seems like you kind of know right off the bat with these guys if they're going to be able to handle it. And that is definitely going to go down Adam Gase, the weirdest press conference of all time. He was forever be a meme.
Yeah, totally.
Go ahead, G.
I just didn't get it. I mean, you saw how he just crashed and burned in Miami, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, he's not going to." And just to go within the division, like not the conference, the division, just oh yeah, we'll take him on. It's like why? Like Peyton Manning's not at the helm.
It made no sense. What sucks was I wanted Matt Rule. That was my guy, and I thought he had a good year in Carolina.
Yes. I like the label put on Matt Rule is the fixer. He'll fix your, program. He did it at Temple. He did it at the fact that he did it at Baylor was, after all that scrutiny that were underneath with Art Briles and whatnot, was amazing. So I was rooting for him, and I'm glad he had a good year in Carolina. I'm really, really glad. I mean,
was there another coach that was up for that job, or was
for the Jets job?
Yeah, I forget.
It was down. The weird thing was the day that they hired Adam Gase, there was a report that it seemed like it was down to McCarthy or Matt Rule.
McCarthy.
And McCarthy kind of scared me off a little bit. I know he had some success early on in Green Bay, but I thought he underachieved a little bit the last few years. So I kind of wanted to go a different direction. I really liked Rule for that reason, that he built up those programs. I was like, he could come in here, be like our CEO kind of a coach. And seemingly like out of nowhere, they hire Adam Gase a few hours later. And the story is they didn't want to let Matt Rule pick his coordinators. They were going to put his coordinator, assign him his coordinators and say okay, you can have these guys on your staff. And he's like, fuck this, I'm going back to Baylor then. And then they pivoted and went to Gase, which was a massive mistake.
Yeah, I bet they're kicking themselves in the ass right now because look what Matt Rule's doing. I mean, what a ballsy move. I mean, we all – not as ballsy as Ditka trading all of his picks for Ricky Williams, but to draft all defensive players, that's nuts.
Yeah.
It worked out. I mean, I felt
vision.
He did. And, it made it work. And a lot of people didn't give him credit because I think he started out in the league for the Giants as like a O-line coach. And what O-line coach is going to be good, as a head coach. And he turned it around in college, and he had experience, especially, giving everybody like the single digit numbers in Temple and doing the same thing at Baylor was awesome.
Yep.
And I was rooting for him, man. And the fact that you guys went with Adam Gase, I was like, okay, well, these guys are a sinking ship. You know what I mean?
Adam Gase, he just started off on the wrong foot with the whole Le'Veon Bell situation too. But went down he has the worst win percentage as a head coach for the Jets, 9-23. I mean, I blame him for a lot of it, but I know it wasn't all his fault. But I think you guys are moving on to brighter pastures for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about Salah, dude. I know you're a 49ers fan over there, so you probably good things, I hope.
Yeah.
Yes, nothing but good things. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, and it's bittersweet for me. So without Matt, I want to know. Well, me and Duran want to know, not just me. I'm not selfish or anything. I want to know about your very first memory as a Jets fan.
Okay. I'm gonna so I started to get into it, like I said, around 2003, 2004. But the one that I always look back on, which I think is the thing that got me really hooked on being a Jets fan, was the 2004 playoffs. So the Jets played the Chargers in the first round, and the game went to double overtime. Doug Bryan hit the game-winning field goal. And the next week he would go on and miss 2 kicks in Pittsburgh, but that's a whole different story for another day. But I remember, like, I was pretty young at the time. I was like 8, maybe 9 years old. And I just remember jumping into my dad's arms, going nuts for that win. So to me, I think that's what sunk me in. I'm like, okay, like I'm fully invested. I'm into it. So that game, which is a Jets classic for us, a double overtime game on the road in the playoffs, was a big win.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that was the Chargers game versus LT crew. Yep. Yeah, that was a big one. You guys had Testaverde at the time.
Testaverde. Oh
Testaverde, my God. He's another Jets legend.
It's because I just got ESPN Plus, and this is not a plug. We're obviously not sponsored by ESPN. But I was watching 30 for 30 The U, and they mentioned him, and I was like, holy shit, I forgot he went there.
Yeah, man. He played for like almost he played for you guys too, right? Cowboys, I think.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
He was all over the league.
He's journeyman for sure. And you guys got another one in Fitz and McCowan.
Yeah.
That's got all of them.
Yep. I feel like Fitzgerald is just the new, or Fitzpatrick is the new Testaverde. He goes everywhere.
Yeah, pretty much, dude.
He's played for every team. I think the earliest team memory, I know a big one, Fireman Ed, right after 9/11. He brought a lot of attention to that. So right there, I was around 11 years old then. So I definitely remember him. And I think that was the same years around the Testaverde, Curtis Martin, Keyshawn Johnson, Wayne Corbett years. So I know I was playing a lot of Madden back then, and so the roster structure and stuff like that, I remember for sure.
Gotcha.
G, you got anything?
I mean, for me, it was growing up, I mean, obviously it wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the tallest. I think I peaked in 7th grade at 5'6". But one thing that my high school coach, shout out to shout out to Frank Giamona. He always told me to watch like Steve Largent and Wayne Corbett. He's like, you're not going to be fast, but you can run good routes. So watch these guys. So I always watch Wayne Corbett. This guy's a beast. This guy's awesome. Like, he always gets open. He's like, how is he so wide open? And then, like Duran said, we played a lot of Madden. I played a lot of Blitz, and I always picked the Jets because Curtis Martin, Wayne Corbett, and I think I want to say Testaverde was at the helm. So it was always just that, you know what I mean? Wayne Corbett, he holds a special place in my heart. Same with Steve Largent, even though he played for the Seahawks. It's just those receivers that I can emulate my game after because I can't be like T.O. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Wayne Corbett, I mean, that's just it's so funny that you said that was your first jersey because, he's definitely, stud coming out of, I think he was undrafted out of Hofstra too. So, yeah.
Good for him. Moving on a little bit, we want to know your favorite or your best memory being a Jets fan. It could be a classic game, a classic play, a draft pick, a game you attended. Does anything stand out?
Yeah, so for me and a lot of my generation of Jets fans, it's going to go to this game. And it's from the 2010 season, beating the New England Patriots on the road in the divisional round. That was huge. For that Jets team. And that was when they went back to the championship game for the second year in a row.
Yeah, Foxborough revenge.
Yeah, exactly. They got blown out on I think it was a Monday Night Football game on the road there earlier in the year. Mm-hmm. they buried the football from that game at the practice field back at Hall.
Yeah. Rex, love it.
Yeah, love it. The typical Rex. And
Yeah.
then they go back on the road and they play, the game of their life. They pretty much shut down Tom Brady for most of that game. It was 28-14, and then they got a last-second touchdown. I think it was 28-21 final. But just an unbelievable game. The Santonio Holmes touchdown in the back corner of the end zone, I'll just never forget that reaction and that insane catch.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the game. That's, my biggest game and biggest win that I've seen, and biggest win probably since their Super Bowl in Super Bowl 3.
Well, it's a shame because nowadays most people's memories is the post game interview. Can't wait. Seeing Pittsburgh, can't wait with Bart Scott. But it's funny how he's in that interview. He said they can't stop a nosebleed because I remember you guys' running backs were pretty nasty. You guys had Sean Green, you guys had LT, and then you guys had
Tomlinson did great.
You guys had a young Joe McKnight. He was wasn't he?
That was his rookie year, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you guys also had, I want to say you guys had Durant mentioned earlier, Jericho Cautry. Is that how you pronounce his last name? Yep. Yeah. He was even running jet sweeps and just running out of the backfield for sure. So I just remember you guys running all over him. That was just crazy to see, especially against a Belichick defense. So
I'm glad you mentioned this game because it was a game that I just watched 2 days ago. Just studying about this interview, but it was actually Gronkowski's very first playoff game. So it's funny to see how far these guys have came. Sanchez, Tomlinson, and Braylon Edwards versus Brady, Gronk, Wes Welker. And I'm pretty sure the running back for the Patriots was Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, the law firm. But what you really notice about that game is it's the classic way to beat Tom Brady. They played man-to-man coverage, made him hold the ball, and the pass rush just got to Brady most of the time. And, it was frustrating him. And, Sanchez got the win over Tom Brady. That was when he was on his hot streak. So, I'm glad you mentioned that one. I think the last one that we talked about was the Monday Night Miracle, the comeback, the 23-point comeback versus the Dolphins. An overtime win, but like you said, this one's more recent. I feel like that one, it was Fiedler versus Testaverde. Honestly, I don't remember it. I just went back and looked at some of the games, but Curtis Martin, 130 total yards. Wayne Corbett, 2 touchdowns, 104 yards. Another classic game.
Yeah, it was a big one. That they were down big in the third quarter, and the Meadowlands was pretty much clearing out, and then people were trying to get back in the building as they came back and ended up winning that game. But that's another big one too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious. I mean, I'm looking at that game, that 2011 game, and I see you guys have Braylon Edwards. Did you feel let down by him?
No, I think he was a great Jet, to be honest with you. Those 2 years when they traded for him in 2009, especially that first year, 2009, because they didn't have anybody else really. I think they were in the first 2 weeks of the year, Mark Sanchez was throwing to Chancey Stuckey and Jericho Cautry. Chancey Stuckey was in the league for 4 years, but he didn't put up gaudy numbers. And then the Jets ended up letting him go, and he was pretty much done after that. But he was solid for this team for those 2 years.
Yeah, I was just curious because I saw him on here, and I mean, he played for the Niners. I think we picked him up after you guys. So I was just curious just because I don't remember him really doing anything for us personally other than the preseason. So I was just curious on how you felt as a Jets fan about Braylon Edwards.
Well, we did talk to the Browns fan and Braylon Edwards with his damn drops. Yeah, it was one of the most drops in a single season by a wide receiver. So I know he had some big moments, but had his down moments too.
Yeah.
Anything else, G?
No, nothing else for this one.
You got it. So not every year is a great year. I mean, we all know this as fans, but do you have a worse memory being a Jets fan?
There's a lot. Worst moment. Okay. This I'll go a little bit more recent. So back to that 2015 season, going and losing in week 17 to the Buffalo Bills in a game where if the Jets won that game, they would have been in the playoffs.
Mhm.
And the fact that it came at the hands of Rex Ryan was just a huge slap in the face.
Oh yeah.
That was a really tough one because that team was good, man. That was the last time the Jets had like a solid team. They finished the season 10-6, missing the playoffs, but they really should have won that game. And they lost to them earlier in the year too at MetLife. It was a tough game. They lost by like 6 points or something like that. But yeah, that one really sticks out. The championship game playoff losses were tough.
The back-to-backs.
Yeah, that was tough too for sure. And just more recently, just the blunders and terrible blowouts that have happened. But the one that really sticks out to me is when the expectations are high. Like when you think you're gonna win this game and be a playoff team, and then the next thing you know, you're losing to your former coach. That's pretty tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those tough games, man. They stick with you. It seems like more than the wins sometimes.
Absolutely.
One thing that I just want to bring up is the Jamal Adams saga. At the first couple years, the heart and soul of the team, recruiting guys, awesome teammate. But as the years went by, it just seemed like the relationship started breaking apart. Were you a big fan of his? How did you feel when he left?
So he was definitely an exciting player for the Jets. In his first 3 years with the team, he was probably the Jets' best player. I think the relationship started to deteriorate at the trade deadline in 2019. And the Jets, all Joe Douglas did was answer the phone on a trade deal, and Adams took that very personally. And then the whole offseason, it was just him trying to get out. And at first, I think most Jets fans were trying to defend him and okay, let's give him a long-term deal. I'm okay with that. But the number that he was asking for like $20 million a year for safety. That's nuts. Yeah. It's crazy. And we were like, okay, that's a little bit much. And then just the antics on top of that, like he very clearly wanted to go to Dallas. It seemed like he kept talking about Dallas. And then he gets traded to Seattle and he's going crazy and stuff like that. But most fans did a 180 on Adams after that, just because of all the antics he pulled on social media. And, and I think that Joe Douglas got a really good, value in return on that deal. So I don't think there's any, ill will from Jets fans on that one.
Yeah. 2 first-round picks makes everything a little bit better.
Yeah. And on top of that, I feel like you guys got a serviceable safety as well. I mean, I think you guys won that trade. I mean, I remember where I was when that trade happened. I was with a buddy of mine, Vic, shout out. But I was just like, man, they paid way too much for that safety. And I was like, hats off to the Jets, man. They got their guy. That's awesome. I mean, they got their, package. They don't have to deal with that headache anymore.
Yeah.
One thing that I don't think we could pass up, of course, the butt fumble, Mark Sanchez. And, I feel like plays like this happen every year, but it was the timing of this play. It was on Thanksgiving. Everyone's sitting around watching it with their families. Not only that, it's people watch football on Thanksgiving that don't normally watch football. So when something like that happens, they're always like, they make a bigger deal out of it than it really was. So I think it was a very unfortunate play, not the smartest by Sanchez, but come on, was it really that bad?
That is the most overrated blooper. And the part of it is, like you said, it was on Thanksgiving, huge stage, and to get like the LOL Jets in there. And it was a bad play. Of course it was. But nobody talks about Vince Wilfork absolutely blowing up Brandon Moore. Like they leave that part out. Like,
Wilfork, 350-pound man caused, Of
course. And it was a bad play. Like, no doubt about it. It was funny, but I just think like every year on the anniversary, they always it always gets heated out. I'm like, we're still doing this like almost 10 years ago at this point.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that.
Mark Sanchez, he was definitely a character. I mean, he was even a hot dog versus the Raiders.
Yep.
That was funny as shit.
Yeah. One thing, I don't know how closely you followed the draft, but I don't really remember this one. You guys took Mike Nugent in the second round. Which, a kicker in the second round usually is a no-no in the draft. You passed up guys like Vincent Jackson, Frank Gore, Channing Crowder, Justin Tuck, Evan Mathis, and that was just like in the next 15 picks. That wasn't the rest of the draft. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was tough. They didn't have a first round pick that year either. So
wow.
That was their first pick in that draft was Mike Nugent. That was really bad.
Yeah.
The Jets did so after the next season. That was the last year, and then they went to the Tannenbaum and Mangini regime, and they drafted much better in like 06, 07, 08.
Mhm.
And then, honestly, like the last 10 years before Douglas got here, it was a lot more bad drafting in there. You could find some gems in there.
Yeah, at least you guys didn't pick a kicker, first round, pick 17,
What? Who's that a shot at?
Come on, man. You follow the draft too, man.
Hey, get them angry. Get them riled up.
Oakland Raiders.
Yeah. We got Raider fans that listen to this. But, yeah, I mean, Mike Nugent, I think the Raiders, their guy ended up being he might even be their all-time leading scorer.
Probably.
But
I think that was the pick that they got from that trade with Tampa, right? Or was that Namni Asamoah?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That's too far back for me, especially when it's not my team. Yeah. All right, that's about it for bad memories.
Yeah.
Let's move on a little bit to the brighter days because there are some brighter days ahead for this team. I could feel it. G, do you want to start with some contract talk or anything like that?
Yeah. So before I start crying about me losing, Robert Salah, I'm Sam Darnold. He's due for, that 5th-year contract, whether you guys pick it up or trade him. It's a little bit in limbo, whether we could ship him off, or we can keep him as a bridge quarterback. How do you see that happening?
I think I would personally trade him. Now I was high on him coming out of the draft. I thought he was a good prospect, but I really think Adam Gase did a number on him. And I think with the second pick, you're in a pretty good spot there to land either a Justin Fields or Zach Wilson. And then you get that quarterback on a cheap contract and have the new coach, the GM who's relatively new, and the quarterback all on the same wavelength instead of having like a carryover from the older regime.
Yeah, so it looks another thing on top of that, it looks like you guys are already doing, cap casualties for sure. I mean, Henry Anderson was your latest one. Do you have another one that you can see coming?
Yeah, Henry Anderson didn't really come as a surprise. That saves him about $8 million. I think a couple other ones that might make sense. Greg Van Roten, a guard, and Alex Lewis, another guard. Neither of them really played all that great for the Jets this last year. I think they'll look to improve and maybe go out and sign a Joe Thuney if he hits the market, or a dress guard in the draft. I think both of those guys could be on the way out as well.
Yeah. I saw in a PFF article, they did a cap casualties article, and Jameson Crowder was on there, who I think that'd be a bad move. I don't know how much money you'd save there, but to me, he was just, I know maybe you guys are moving on from Darnold, maybe not, but Darnold loved throwing to him. The most targets from a receiver the past 2 years, Jameson Crowder. I think he's an underrated guy. I think he's the type of player where young quarterbacks would love to have him just as a consistent target. So to me, that would be a bad move. Have you heard anything about Crowder?
Yeah, some people would. I think it would save the Jets $9 million if they cut him. I'm in the camp of wanting to keep him. I think no matter who the quarterback is, whether they stick with Darnold or go with a rookie, I think it would be a good target to have. So I'm all for keeping him.
Yep, I totally agree with that.
So one thing I'm actually really curious about with Jameson Crowder, do you guys can see a restructure?
I don't think he'll do it.
I'm just curious because he hasn't been he hasn't been a leader.
Maybe if they restructure, he only has, this is his last year on the deal. So if they want to restructure and do an extension, maybe they could do something like that. But yeah, I'm not too sure on that one.
I could see him doing it maybe if it was, no offense, a contending team, a team that's something like that. But he's probably pay me or else I'll leave and find somewhere else.
Yeah, you guys are still in that
get 100 targets at something.
You guys
like
are
that.
still in that rebuilding mode, so it
Yeah.
totally makes sense.
Yep.
So I mean, last year's draft I thought was awesome. I liked it. You guys got Becton, Ashton Davis, who I really, really liked. And another sneaky pick is, didn't you guys get Bryce Hall?
Yeah, Bryce Hall. He was really good for the Jets last year.
That was a good move.
Yeah, he was hurt a little bit earlier in the year, but then he played down the stretch, and he was pretty solid for them, man. I think that was a good find. I was happy with Joe Douglas's draft class. I think he did relatively well in his first draft.
Definitely.
Speaking of the draft, you guys got a lot of capital coming up here, and I think this is a pretty big draft for the Jets. 2 first-round picks, number 2 and number 27 overall, 2 third-round picks, and that's pretty much thanks to the Seahawks. But you have 6 picks in the top 100. I think you kind of want to go with the quarterback at that number 2 pick. Is there anything else you want to address?
Yeah, there's a few needs on this team. Cornerback is definitely still a need. Edge, they haven't had an edge presence in a long time, and that's going to be big in Robert Saleh's defense. And interior offensive line is big. I think you're okay at center with McGovern, but you probably need 2 starting guards for next year. So free agency in the draft on that.
I think you guys can handle a lot of this in the draft. If, I mean, draft picks are 50-50 if you're lucky, but with 6 in the top 100, if you can get 3 starters, maybe 4, I think you guys would be looking pretty good moving forward.
I mean, if you look at it, you guys pretty much have the number 1 pick. I feel like Terrence Lawrence is he's in Jacksonville, right? So you guys will most likely be a highly coveted pick. You guys could trade down and get a shitload of picks, shitload more. Do you see you guys doing that, or do you guys want to stick there and pick like a Zach Wilson, Justin Fields?
Yeah, it depends on who you ask. Like I'm very much on I love Zach Wilson. To me, he's my second quarterback in this class. I wouldn't be opposed to taking Justin Fields. I just like Wilson a little bit more. As far as trading down, you do have, some Jets fans are still Sam Darnold believers, and they think it was just all on Gase, and you get a real coach in here and get him some weapons, and he could be okay. And if they trade down and get even more picks, that could be a scenario for them. I personally wouldn't do that, but it wouldn't be shocking to see that happen either, I don't think.
Yeah, because I remember the talks being that, the Niners should trade for Darnold. Like we see what we can do in that offense. You guys are going to pretty much be running that offense.
Right.
So if you guys want to keep them, trade down for sure, I would say. I mean, there's no edge rushers in this draft that are like a Chase Young from last year or Nick Bosa from the year before. So it can go either way. So I just always thought that. I mean, with Robert Saleh, like you were saying, that guy loves his defense. So you guys got some building to do on that defense, and that's something exciting to see.
Yeah. As far as coaches go, I mean, you said it, Robert Saleh. I think he's going to be a great coach. He's just going to set a new standard there for the Jets. I think he can handle that New York media with ease. He's just, he knows what he says and he says what he knows. How do you feel about him?
Yeah, I was surprised with the hire because I didn't think he'd want to come here. Like this is a big name coaching candidate. And I think in his introductory press conference and everything since then, he seems very like calm, collected, has a plan, is going to stick to that plan. And it's exciting because it's a complete 180 from what we were used to. Like Adam Gase and Dowell Loggins as the offense coordinator, they were just in over their head. It was so obvious from day one, where Saleh, it just seems like he's going to come in here. He has a plan. He knows what he's doing. It's really completely different than we saw in the last regime, and Jets fans are really excited about it.
Mm-hmm. You guys are going to have a really good, get back coach, because that guy gets hyped on the sidelines. That's one thing I'm going to miss on the sidelines, man, is that bald-headed dude just getting so hyped. I remember the fourth down stop, goal line stop versus the Rams. He was out there right at the goal line, just giving Fred Warner a big old hug. Damn, man, I'm going to miss that so much. You guys got a good one, man. Congrats to you guys for sure.
Yep. You guys are in good hands.
Exactly.
Anything else, G? That's it from me.
Nothing else from me, but Matt, just go ahead and plug yourself again. Let us know what you're working on, where they can find you. We'll put all the links below, but man, plug yourself, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. So you could check out my YouTube. I do Jets videos, pretty much daily Jets videos over there at Matt O'Leary NY. I have a weekly long form podcast as well called Just Jets, comes out every Monday. And you can follow along with me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. Keeping updated over there at Matt O'Leary NY as well. So if you're interested in the Jets or the NFL, come hang out.
Can you give us the Jets cheer?
JET. Jets.
Oh, let's go.
Let's go, baby.
Hell yeah, baby. Oh, even Bailey likes that. All right. If you look at Duran's background, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at Why We're Fans. Matt, your work and everything will be down below on the description, which will be great. Duran, anything else to say to Matt before we take off? Matt, if you want to stick around just for a little bit after, that'd be great. Duran, anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thanks for joining us, Matt.
Thanks for joining us. Everybody enjoy your night. Cheers.